What we're going to do is we are actually etching the Signature Edition PCBs. Today is January 6th. What we do is we etch them in the lower corner of that to let them know that this is actually one that I assembled. Here's a blank board. I actually have the top of an Aquarius Plus placed in here. It's set to the proper height. Make sure it's up in the upper right hand corner. Make sure it's balanced. There we go. It's kind of sitting strangely. And again, we're running this from Illustrator. That's my signature. And let's go through the process of burning it. Close it. The job has already been loaded. We press go, and here we go. Now, the actual light you see is burning PCB mask. I have a very strong filter underneath the system. Again, there's the filter and there's the exhaust fan. I also have a compressor that blows the debris off to the side, so I'm not breathing any of this. I do have safety glasses that occasionally I will wear, but the interlock that we have, which is actually a set of magnets right here, if I were to lift this right now, it would turn the laser off. It's a UV laser, so even if I wanted to see it, I couldn't. I could turn on a little laser or a little LED assist laser pointer, but again, through this special glass, the reflected light, even if it does happen to get back towards me, is filtered out. So that was it. It only took about 50 seconds to run. Open it up. There it is. And the way I've set the laser, is to just take off the top layers of the etchant. You can see there's a little bit of a kind of a pearlescent green. There is still a thin layer of etchant there, so that metal, even though it's in the ground plane, there's no traces anywhere near it. Right here, it's only the ground plane, and there's still plenty of the PCB mask to keep that metal from tarnishing. So when we're done, we put it on a piece of anti-static foam, and I alternate them, and then we're ready for the next PCB to etch. Here are the coasters, the acrylic coasters that we're doing, at least for a little while supplies last, for the Aquarius Plus. Notice that it's backwards. That's because we actually etch on the back side of the plexiglass. Here's a piece of the plexiglass, and people wonder where I get it from. I actually have, sorry the shop's so messy, but I have a stash of plexiglass back there. After COVID was over, a lot of people started taking down their 1/4-inch acrylic. So I've rescued a lot of this acrylic that would have otherwise wound up in a landfill. I've broken it down into 12-inch by 16-inch pieces that will fit into my Epilogue Zing laser. And if you look in here, we've almost finished the first pass of the etching part of it, where we actually etch it. I have it raised off of the bed because if it sits on that metal grid that's beneath it, it'll actually transfer little bits of that grid into the edge. So now we're going to start the cutting process. And what you see here, what you can see it's doing is it's cutting the outside of the actual outer part of the coaster piece. And I've got 3 pieces because, of course, it creates a little 3-legged table. And not only does this cut the acrylic, but it also does a nice flame polish on the edges, so it looks really, really good when it's finished. I don't have to do hardly any finishing. Well, that's not true. Actually, where it starts the cut, there's a little bit of a gap at the end that creates a little bit of a hickey that I have to sand down, and then I blast it with a little bit of a blowtorch to just polish that part. So this part takes quite a while to do. It probably takes about 3 minutes on each piece. I do have a very aggressive fan going. I've got a compressor here that actually blows compressed air down through that cut to blow away the excess fumes and stuff like that. The whole system is sealed. Beneath here we have a HEPA filter, and then it actually filters to the outside of my shop area. Fresh air comes in. I have the front door open so that we get cross ventilation, because even though it's pretty well filtered, it still has kind of a fumy smell. Here's the next piece that I'm going to be doing. Again, it's a 16 by 12 piece of acrylic. We're about halfway through the cut here. You can see it goes very, very slow. You'll also notice that these little standoffs that I created, I 3D printed them. Here's what I put those in. So they've got little kind of sword pieces that stick up. And the good part is it's PLA, so even if the laser burns through them, it's not going to create any bad fumes or anything else like it would with ABS. PLA is very good about retracting from heat. ABS can actually catch on fire. But speaking of which, I am safe here in case anything does happen. I do have my extinguishers down here to make sure that if for any reason any of this catches on fire, which it rarely does, but it's important to have one of the things on hand. So actually, here's another piece. If you take a look at the, this is the one that I just pulled out so the laser on the next pass doesn't mess with it. You can see there's a little bit of a hickey here, and it's hard to kind of tell where it happens. It looks like it's somewhere, no it is, it looks like it's on the surface of this side. So what I will do is, I will sand that down. Also, I will take out that kind of little divot that's on the edge right there. And then I use this little miniature torch to heat it. I don't hold it on there very long because I don't want it boiling. The rest of this stuff will just clean up with Windex. But this piece here, I do need to kind of scuff it down, and then when I flame polish it with this guy, you won't even notice that it was there. So this is the first set of items that I have done. There are 14 labels per page. It's about a 6 by 12 piece of laserable plastic so I don't get nasty fumes. And here's my Illustrator file. And you can notice that the bottom of the page here is, let's see, 84, 14 per page. That tracks, I now have an additional 14. So the last serial number that I have on this particular batch is 98. And I've actually already started it. Here is the file running within the laser, and you can see down there's number 98. We have a few more to go. Right now it's only on the third item up from the bottom, and it's got all of this area up here to go. We will take these and the rubber feet, and then we'll show you how we actually assemble the Aquarius Plus signature units. I generally get PCBs in bundles of 20, like what you see here from JLC PCB. Here's a stack of them. Here's the stack that I've already completed, and here's a brief shot of the windows that I have open on my PC to program. Let's take a look at what I've got set up here. First of all, I have a command window. It's not a PowerShell. I've actually gone into CMD mode, and there's a batch file that I run each time. This is that batch file. It's just a text file. Now, this is included with the firmware download that you get for each release. I happen to use version 17, 17E. It's just a good starting point. I know it works. It's not that I don't trust later versions, but there's a second step that I go through where I actually do a Wi-Fi update. So I have that running. I also have my Windows Device Manager, because what happens is when I first plug in the Aquarius Plus with the jumpers set, and I'll show you those in a second, this shows up as a new ESP32 device, and it has a COM port associated. So I have to update that line right in the middle of the screen. Right now it says COM37. Each time I add a new PCB, it'll increment that number. The next one I plug in will be COM38, and I'll show you that. I'll save the file, and then when I run it within this window after it's shown up, it will do its magic. So I'm not going to focus too much on this. I'm going to focus more on what I do. So when I get a PCB from JLC PCB, it looks kind of like this, and I'll show you what it looks like. And I pardon that I'm on such a fisheye here. And you'll notice that there are a couple of rails at the bottom and at the top. The first thing I do is I break them off. I use a little set of needle nose pliers here. And again, it's kind of tough to do when I'm holding the phone with the other. So I'm going to pop this off. So let's see if we can do that. So here's that first one. And it gives us a nice clean edge. It's got a V-cut in it that is done by JLC PCB. And then I just kind of grab it at the corners here, twist it, and then sometimes if it doesn't quite pop off, I'll twist it higher up on the board. Apologies, this is such a crap show. Anyway, so here it is. I popped it off. It's very easy to do. Then I situate the board this direction. The first thing I check is the stability of the USB micro port, because that's very important. We've chosen a version that has 4 through-hole lugs on it, even though the pins are actually surface mount. I want to make sure these lugs are solid, and it appears to be. We have 3 sets of jumpers here. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. We have jumper 3, and then we have jumpers 1 and 2. So we're going to be bridging jumpers 1, 2, and 3. So let's do 3 first. It's hard to see here. So here's number 3, and I'm just using these little, let's see if I can find the camera here. So these little jumpers like here. And we'll put it on 2, and I'll zoom in just a second. Sorry, it's, again, handheld, so it's kind of difficult. So now this is what those look like. They have bridges on it. Next thing I do is I make sure it's on the off position, and then I'm going to take my USB micro port with the flanges up, and I'm going to plug it in here. Okay, now again that goes to my PC. Over here we should see a an update on this device manager when I turn it on. I'm going to switch the switch on. We'll hear a little beep. There it is. And we'll notice down here, there it is, COM38. So I go over to my batch file, and my edit. It now should say 38. I save that batch file, and now down here in my terminal window, which again is running in CMD mode, I do arrow up, arrow up, which should retype in write.bat for me. And we're going to do the magic, and we'll go through that. Takes about 10-15 seconds to send the write file. Right now you can see at the bottom it's writing. It's about 20% finishing that up. It's actually uploading the image firmware into the ESP32. The ESP32 is the main non-volatile device on this system. Then it's done. It is a hard reset internally, and now what we're going to do is we're going to turn it off. We just acknowledged that that system was disconnected. We're going to unplug the USB micro, and last but not least, and this is very important because it won't behave as an Aquarius until you take these 3 jumper pins off. Kind of grab both of these at once. So again, these jumpers 3, 1, and 2 are now blank. So that is our pre-imaged Aquarius Plus system. So here we have my little production assembly line. I've got a stack of Aquarius Plus signature editions here that I've already completed, but I'm going to show you the assembly process. So here's my box full of 3D printed cases. They're resin printed. They come from JLC PCB. They come 2 to a poly bag. I've already undone 4 of them here. The last one I just put on top. Here's my PCBs. You saw me do the laser on the back, so that's the signature edition version. Here's the labels that I did, and we're going to go through the real quick assembly process. Now, I apologize again because I'm going to be doing this with one hand, so it may get a little janky, but so first I take the Aquarius case and I'm going to turn it so that it is, when you flip it over, you're reading it. I'm going to take the next sticker in line, which looks like it's number 76 here. And I'm going to try to pop this off with one hand. The laser, when I cut around the outside of it, I just cut it so that there is enough to cut the plastic but not cut through the paper itself. Here, I try to line it up to this edge here. I'm going to do it and then I'll show you. So here is where that is, and hopefully this one won't look like crap. So here it is, and then I smooth it down. The nice part about this is it's a nice 3M adhesive. It holds the plastic in place. Now I have a template that I use, and the template does have a cutout where I could put the sticker in place. It's actually just much easier to do freehand because I don't have this little 1/8 of an inch lip here. I take this little template, And again, this template's available on the GitHub if you want to use it, if you're assembling these. This will work for either the resin printed or the 3D printed cases on FDM. I have a bunch of 1/4-inch rubber anti-skid bumper feet here. You can see the ones that I've already done. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking these off and placing them in each of these little holes here. I know this is probably frustrating for some of you to watch, but again, you try and do it with one hand kind of holding the camera. But yeah, this goes much faster when I'm not also being the cameraman, the videographer on this. So each of these is a little bit different. Sometimes the flange around the outside on the ones that I get is a little bit bigger. So what I do is I push it down and then lift the template up so that it doesn't re-peel it up if it's slightly bigger. There we are. So I should be able to lift this off. Just give a little push in each of the corners. Now I'm going to set this aside. I have my screws. These are my Aquarius Plus and MX K screws. So these are the same screws that I use for the MX. They are what's known as tri-lobe pan head. What tri-lobe means, and I don't know if you can see it really well, but yeah, it's probably really difficult because I can't quite zoom in on it. But rather than being perfectly circle around the outside, it actually has little extensions, so it's a little bit more like a rounded triangle. Those triangle pieces on the threads actually cut into the plastic within these screw holes, these screw posts better. Notice that I've fortified them really well in the design, so they should stay fine. This plastic in particular can be brittle. If for some reason you ever strip those out, if you put a little bit of either hot glue or construction adhesive in there, let it cure down. I sometimes will put hot glue and then I'll put a toothpick in there as well too to kind of give a little bit of a channel that's already there. If for some reason the post breaks, you can crazy glue it together. Crazy glue is also very brittle too, so you have to be careful, but for the most part it works fine. So here's my Aquarius Plus PCB. I'm going to take it by the expansion port, flip it over, and this is the same orientation that I used to laser it in there. So there's my signature, today's date. I'm going to take that cover, put it back in here, and carefully set it in there. It's nice and snug. Put a screw, kind of preset a screw in each of the corners here. And set that there. I mean, I do them one at a time when I'm making the case, but again, it's kind of difficult. So I'm going to use my screwdriver now. Get this template and these rubber feet out of the way. I like to put a little bit of pressure, and it's kind of hard to do here, so I'm going to hold it and I'm going to force the screw down into it so I don't get a gap down here. It should suck it together, and I don't want to strip it out, so I put it so it's just snug, and that's a nice gap on the beauty line. This gap is supposed to be there. Sorry, last but not least, we are going to do this one in this corner. All right, I'm going to torque it down a little bit, not too tight, because I don't want to strip it out. Now I'm going to take a look at the gaps around the edges. This is pretty good. The seams, I mean, there's a little bit of flex in it, but again, this is a plastic material. Whether it was this resin or whether it was ABS, it would all do the same sort of a thing. It all looks good. There's no major gaps other than the beauty line, which has been designed into it. This beauty line is this centerpiece. So that's it. That's the assembly of an Aquarius Plus with its serial number sticker on the bottom. We'll set it up here. I have the last of this batch of Aquariuses. This is serial number AA90. I actually have the number written on the box here. I did do an original pack out, but I wanted to show you guys how I do it. So these are my pre-done boxes. I stamp there, and then I stamp I've got a variety of about 6 different stamps that I put on the inside. So it's kind of like a little surprise, which you'll get. So I have formatted our Aquarius SD. I get that from the SD card directory within the end user directory on the GitHub. So it's already been formatted. The files have been uploaded. I'm going to put this in here. And I'm going to attach it up here, but when you come back, I'll actually have it on the screen. Okay, all the components hooked up. Everything's plugged in. Now the version of the OS that I uploaded was version 17. And I've actually already done this, but I'm going to show you what I go through. Hit the return key, and we do run ESP settings, and we are going to do Wi-Fi set. That's going to set our Wi-Fi. It's going to get a list of our networks here. Since my signal is the strongest, it shows it first. Sometimes it doesn't, but I'm going to hit 0. I'm going to enter the password. Okay, let's do Wi-Fi to see if it's set. Still connecting. It takes about 10 seconds. And there it is, we are connected. The next thing I'm going to do is update. This is the Wi-Fi update. Update GH, which means update from GitHub. The version I'm going to do is v0.23b. That's the stable one as of this video. And it would be like this. So when we're done, that's what it'll look like. Version 023b with plus basic version O v020b. Now these two don't stay in sync. They're different versions. Releases are based on the system, plus basic has more frequent updates. So the next thing we're going to do is to test out the SD card. One of the points we want to make sure works. We're going to create a little very short program, 10 rem, just a rem statement, and we're going to save it. We're going to save it as rem. And again, that last question mark is, or that last quotation mark is optional. Let's get a directory. And there it is at the bottom, rem. So our write access works. And we're going to now delete rem. And when you use the delete function, you don't have to use the quotes. And let's make sure it's gone. And we can see it's gone. After that, I switch it off. And we start the pack out process. So with the pack out process, what I do is, again, I've just updated this. I set it in here. I have a couple pieces of tape that I've already set up to make it easier for myself. Center it here. Sorry for the handheld. But I'm wrapping it in anti-static wrap. And that's sealed up. Remember, this is number 90. So I set this so that the feet are up. That's the safest way to ship it, we found. Within the box, we put our Aquarius in there like that. We put the cable off to one side. We have our information item, which we'll see here, a little folded information, a quick start guide. And then on top of that, at least for a limited time, we have our little acrylic coasters that we set in there. Last bit we do is we take one of the pieces of extra foam that we have from the PCB pack outs that we got from GLC PCB, and we fold it up. Sorry about this. I'll set the ears in. And again, I've already done this once. I want to make sure you guys saw it. And then last but not least, take our last piece of tape and we fold it down. And that's it. From there, we will put the labels on the top and ship them out. We're doing really well. I've got a stack here. This is our number 90, so it goes on the very bottom because it's the last number. And then we will put these other 4, the last 5 of these units to go out. There, each of these boxes is about a pound, so shipping is pretty reasonable for this size. It's a 9 by 6 by 2, again about a pound. And that's it. So these are the last 14 of the Aquarius Pluses from the second batch that'll go out.